Throughout the opening round of the 2001 season in Texas, it was business as usual for the Audi team as the all-conquering R8s set up another formation finish starting the new season as they had ended the olds. In hindsight, it sounds easy, but it wasn't. The Panos LMP07s were bang on the pace, and the only late splash and dash from David Brabham and Jan Magnussen allowed Biela and Pirro up into second place after they'd fought back from the very back of the grid after a minor bodywork infringement robbed them of their qualifying glory. It was the same old story at Sebring for the 12-hour race. Audi first and second all over again. Capello and Christensen once again picking up the checkered flag and another maximum points haul, putting them top of the tree and by what already looks like a healthy margin. The pit lane wondering which Audi driver will claim this year's crown. After Sebring came the spring break as the teams crossed over to Europe for Le Mans and the LMS races. But now we're back in the United States with seven more races on the calendar before the season ends in 3 months' time. So the second half of the US Tour kicks off here at Sears Point in Northern California. "45 minutes out of San Francisco and into the fringes of California's wine-growing Napa Valley, Sears Point is a complex and exciting racetrack to drive. Just 2.5 miles long, it officially has 12 turns, but with so many chicanes and twists as well, drivers are almost always preparing for the next bend. Elevation changes are big. It climbs up into the hills away from the start line and keeps on going until it crests quite early in the lap, and then the downhill descent begins, still turning. It's very reminiscent of California's other famous racetrack, Laguna Seca, which lies in a similar location to the south of San Francisco. So short ratios making the most of the engine, but even so, not a lot of gear work here. The corners follow each other in thick and fast succession on a lap of around 1 minute and 20 seconds. We're on board with Dino Capello in the #1 Audi, and this car, or rather its 2000 equivalent, set the lap record last July at 1 minute 20. But this summer they're struggling to get below 1:21, maybe down to the slickness of the track here. Well, it's a very busy lap for the drivers, and it's going to be a great deal busier on the race itself, with a lot of much slower traffic to deal with. The GTs are as much as 15 seconds slower than the LMPs on any given lap. So the GT pole, BMW of Frederick Ekblom and Dirk Muller. 1:33.7, 12 seconds shy of the best LMP lap of the weekend. 2/10 clear of his nearest class rival and half a second faster than teammates JJ Leto and Jörg Müller.
Yeah, okay, I'm really lucky. I'm happy for BMW and you know, the whole Schnitzer team. We have been quickest this morning in the practice, and we're just running our program since yesterday, and step by step Frederick and I improved our BMW M3 GTR, and you know, it's running really well, and I'm quite confident for tomorrow.
Only one lightweight 675 car in the entry list at Sears Point. The Reynard entered by Dick Barber Racing and driven by Duno, Graham and de Radig. It's solo status guaranteeing class pole and a lap record, of course, plus 10th on the overall grid behind the big LMP 900s and the Saleen. Frans Conrad seems to have got the Saleen more or less as he wants it now, and was almost a second faster than his Corvette rivals to grab the GTS pole.
Yes, the Saleen is quite a really good car now. There's not any big points on a car now that will be break or didn't hold for these sprint races. We proved the car now on 12 hours, we proved the car now in Le Mans on 24 hours, and Team Celine built really quite good cars, so the Corvettes will be making really a hard job to beat us.
After early season success with the LMP07, Penos decided to revert to its predecessor, which Frank Lagos had driven, or never driven I should say, which Jan Magnussen and David Brabham both know well indeed.
Yeah, I mean, we should be pleased with fourth in a way, but I feel like I could have got third if the car was just settled a little more than what it was. But you know, you have to think that these cars have been sitting in the workshop well, since December, and you know, Audi have just developed their cars from last year, and you know, obviously they're going to be tough to beat. But I'm surprised we're even this close, considering. So I think we're doing pretty well.
Close as well, up to row 2. Long-time Porsche stalwart, Champion Racing, as one of last year's Audi R8s for a team founded earlier this year. The car actually raced Le Mans in 2000 for Audi. Champion brought it to Sears Point for a 2-driver British lineup. Andy Wallace and Johnny Herbert, fresh out of Formula 1. Herbert should still be very much on the pace, and he looks like a bit of a coup for the team. But that doesn't put Andy Wallace in the shadows. He's a sports car driver of considerable experience and ability, and importantly, a racer to the core. He always goes out there looking for a win.
Well, of course you want to be first always, but we're obviously concentrating on the race setup. That's what's important tomorrow's race. That was as fast as we could make the car go. Third's better than fourth.
Half a season away from Formula 1, aside from an Arrows testing contract, Johnny Herbert looked relaxed and happy at Sears Point, and reasonably pleased with the grid position for Sunday's 2 hours and a bit race.
No, I'm pleased with that. Yes, I'm pleased. I'm not so happy that I lost the toss who was going to qualify this time, but I know from now on we alternate it race by race. But it was good. Yeah, Andy did a good job. We're happy with I think the tyre choice we've got. We're happy with the balance we got. So I actually think for the race we'll be much better off, and I think we're looking forward to having a good close battle with the works cars.
And this is one of them revised over the winter, as we heard. Audi recently revealed that their latest modification to the factory cars was direct fuel injection, only possible with advanced electronic management systems. It allows the engine to develop more power more quickly, but at the same time use less fuel. They were seeing a reduction at close to 10% at Le Mans, and it makes a huge difference. But here at Sears Point, it'll be power and speed you notice, not consumption. Not quite down below 1:22. Biela and Pirro were second on the grid and more than half a second slower than the #1 car. Quite a big difference on a lap like this, and one which left them concerned and not completely happy.
Honestly, no, I'm not. It's always the same. If you're on pole, you're happy. If not, you cannot be happy. And I had a look at the graphs. In the first corner, I don't know why, but I was too slow. I lost most of it there for some reason, and no, I'm not happy. We have to find a solution for tomorrow. We have a little problem in the car with understeering, and I hope tomorrow we will have a good race setup.
The crew of the #1 car, on the other hand, had a very reason to feel pleased with themselves. A job well done. Pole by half a second and more, again, on the back of 2 straight wins from 2 races on 2 different circuits, Texas and Sebring, and now running away with it at Sears Point. Not yet, but perhaps. Well, Italy's cheerful ambassador to the LMS, Dino Capello, already looking like favourite for the driver's title, heading teammate Tom Christensen, thanks to the bonus system for pole positions, fastest laps and laps in the lead of the race, so that should have widened his smile for Saturday night. Well, it's easy to be happy when you're winning, but he really seems to be enjoying racing in the United States and relishing the differences between the American atmosphere and the American racetracks and everything that he's used to back home.
I liked immediately this kind of track because it's so different compared to our European track. It's up and down, very fast the corner, very difficult to drive, but from the other side it's very, very dangerous compared to our European racetrack.
Tight and twisty as well, and likely to be very, very busy on race day when all 4 classes are racing on the same piece of tarmac. But Cabello and teammate Tom Christensen remain favourites to take their third straight series win and confirm that they are really in the groove at the moment. Speculation academic for the time being, but there's not long to wait. Qualifying is over and the sun is going down over the Pacific. One of those dramatic but quick Californian sunsets that promise another fine day on race day. We'll be back with that race after this short break. Stay with us. It's Sunday morning at Sears Point. The sun is shining in California. There's a big surprise and we're ready to go racing. It's round 3 of the American Le Mans Series. Sunshine, no surprise whatsoever. Last year's race, which is scheduled at 2 hours and 45 minutes. Last year, that was the schedule, with this checkered flag to be dropped at the end of the following complete lap. Last year, it ran to 114 laps, but the race pace was fast and the pole time even quicker. This year, those who've, as before, which does not include Johnny Herbert, of course, he's never been here before, all say that the track is very much slicker. Schnitzer BMW team celebrating pole position for the M3 in the GTR class. Jörg Müller and JJ Leto a bit slower than Dirk Müller and Frederick Ekblom. Fourth on the grid, but on a hard tyre. That should be better in the race. Andy Wallace will start the 38 car. Frank Biela will line up number 2, and the new Audi R8's impressively quicker than the 2000 model, was champion racing fields for Wallace and Johnny Herbert, thanks to that new direct injection system that we were talking about. So time to take a look at the grid in full, and you can see that the number 1 Audi has a useful margin over number 2, and there's another half second back to third place for Andy Wallace, and then it starts to close up a bit with the Panos looking stronger in fourth, a pair of Cadillacs on row 4, and Intersport Lola besides the second Panos, and the GTS Saline ahead of the sole 675 entrant for this weekend, belonging to Mr. Dick Barber. So let's take a look at the track itself. On board with the Cadillac number 8, Wayne Taylor. Also Max Agnelli later on. Track temperature around 100 degrees Fahrenheit. It's very, very hot indeed. Safety car is on track at the moment. Just got off. Of course, it's always a rolling start here. We're waiting for the green flag so the starter can get us underway here at Sears Point. Audis 1 and 2 for now. We've gone green and we're racing, and a fantastic start for David Brabham in the Panos. Straight away to third place, zooming off second row, and Andy Wallace with work to do in the white champion racing team car. Well, a superb start indeed for David Brabham, just getting the jump there, fourth fastest in qualifying, but it's Audis 1 and 2, and how familiar does that sound? Well, a nice clean start, no drama yet, everyone's staying calm. Temperatures, well, they'll soon be nearing optimum as far as not just the engines, the gearbox, but also, of course, the tyres as well. The Saline leads the GTS. Drivers all pacing themselves for now. BMW's leading the GT class. Well, a tight bunch of BMWs hassled by the Porsches. More on them in just a moment. Out front, though, it's the Audis, and settling in well. David Brabham in last year's Panos, been under wraps since around about Christmas time, and they're just desperate to get it back out, bring some success back. Slightly different look, of course, in this year's model. And look at Andy Wallace just having a look down, desperate to get back into that third spot. The door, though, being slammed by that beautiful and distinctive car, the Panos. Yes, they unveiled the 2001 model this year, and it just didn't deliver for them. After early success, it hasn't happened. The Saline, then, also up there and looking good. Terry Borker leading the GTS, ahead of the vets of Ron Fellows and Collins in the number 4 car. Dino Capello then ahead of Frank Bieler, and already catching back markers inside the first 10 minutes. Bieler, overnight problems seem to have gone. He's sticking with his teammate, as you can see. Well, as they catch those back markers, they're going to have to be careful. You can pick up penalties here for hassling slower cars. We've seen that earlier in the series and also in the European rounds. Stop-go penalties, not a welcome sight for any driver. Out of sight, Bill Oberlin, the number 10, has passed the number 43, Dirk Muller, to lead the GT series. For the time being then, as they go through traffic, it's Audis 1, 2 and 4, the Panos of Brabham. Third for now in the big class. Saleen heads the Corvettes. Numbers 3 and 4 cars, and it's BMWs 1, 2 and 3 in the GT class. Well, the leader's just approaching and passing number 66, Kevin Buckler of the Macquarie Racing Team. It looks so easy, doesn't it? Beautiful machines, so phenomenally well balanced and tuned. Buckler in the Saleen GTS, being chased by Ron Fellows in the number 3 Corvette. The number 4 Corvette, Collins, seems to have dropped back somewhat. But Buckler pulling away. Saleen, a road-going car. You can buy a road-going version of these vehicles. The special GTS class, one up from the GT series. And believe me, I've seen it in the flesh, and it is a beautiful machine, the Saleen. Probably silver example was trackside at Donington Park when we caught up with the European series. On board then with Dino Capello, picking off the back markers. He really is trying hard. No rest here. No real straights, as you can see. It's one way and then the next. Very physically demanding on the drivers. The head bobbling all over the place. Not perhaps going as wide as he might had he been challenged a little more. But nonetheless, keeping a nice tidy line, and he'll be pleased with that. The Panos of Brabham, the number 50 car, fending off Wallace. Wallace desperate to get past. Both 2000 cars here. The Audi, of course, did so well in the official team, the Sears team last year, and brought off the peg by Champion Racing. But now 20 seconds separate these two, battling for third place, and our leading Works Audis 1 and 2. It shows the vast difference, or perhaps just the dogged determination of the Panos here, holding off Wallace. Well, Johnny Herbert will be desperate to get inside this car and give it some welly. Our leaders then, Audis 1 and 2, lapping Lucas Luhr in the Masson car. GT class points leader, not slow, but being gentlemanly, the big boys, and that's nice to see. It is passing 57, the Reynard Dick Barber racing machine. Ilka Duno on board there, and Tom Christensen. He'll be in the number 1 car a little bit later on, watching from the pit wall. Well, the Audi's already lapping cars in 6th place. That's how good they are. Unbelievable. Number 1 Capello, number 2 Bieler. Bieler seems to have cured his understeer and found the half second he was looking for last night in qualifying. Well, they seem to be in a class of their own at the moment. Well, there'll be 2 full pit stops in 2 hours and 45 minutes for the big cars. Others maybe just the one, perhaps a splash and dash late on if they can just conserve fuel. The Audi's new injection system means that they can save, but not that much. They will probably have to come in twice. So the Saleen, the Buckler car, number 26. Where on earth are the Corvettes? Well, they're dropping back. It seems when fully laden, the Saleen's just looking very good in this class. Pulled away from both vets, 10 or 12 seconds the gap in the GTS class then from the leader. Great for the Conran team. Looking like class champions in waiting, perhaps. We will see. Corvette, I'm sure, will have an awful lot to say about that. Number 8 Cadillac in the frame, closing down on the GTS. Max Agnelli on board. And you can see the extra oomph there in a different class, quite literally. Race order then, oh dear, and it's the Panos number 51, Frank Lagorce. And we're hearing that he's stuck in neutral. Audi's 1 and 2. Panos number 50 is in third place ahead of Wallace number 38 Audi. The 51 Panos was fifth, that's out, and it's a brace of Cadillacs following on for now. On board with Capello, closing up on number 26, the Saleen of Terry Borkler. On the pit straight, oh, he's got a knock, took a knock on the wall there. I don't know if you saw that, he's just, goodness me, really, his head just went sideways. Well, the car still seems to be handling. Just clipped the wall there, he's going down on the inside and got a nasty bang. BMW battle, Dirk Muller in the 43 car ahead of JJ Leto in the 42. Boris Said in the number 6 car as well. Second PTG BMW. And let's have a look at that moment again here. Just look at this. Goes down the inside of the Saleen and he's just running out. Oh, just catches it, nicks it there. And they were trying to flag him off, but, well, he seems to have survived it, thank goodness. So, BMW of Leto and Said. It's Audi's 1 and 2. The Panos third ahead of the 38 Privateer Audi. GTS, it's Saleen, followed by the 2 Corvettes. And BMW's 1, 2, 3 and 4 in the GT class. We'll be back at Sears Point after this very short break. Do stay with us. Great racing this. Welcome back as the Audis seem to be running away at the front. We're here at Sears Point and looking at the Cadillac number 7 of Christophe Tinzo of France. Car's midway through a 3-year development program, waiting for next year's all-new car. They say this season they're just biding their time. Doing it well though. Corvette's number 3, the Fellows machine, close behind the Saleen number 26 of Borkula. And as the fuel load lightens, it seems that the Corvettes are managing to close the gap. Saleen's relying on the heaviness earlier on. Well, on board with Capello, hoping for a bigger gap perhaps this time when he comes around in front of the pit lane. It really did take a nasty looking knock there, but trying to get through traffic and clearing it this time, thank goodness. Waiting for turn 2 to pass that BMW. Driving, watching, waiting, being incisive, positive, so that everyone knows exactly what you're doing, not hitting the walls, if you can possibly avoid them, please. Well, lapping more and more vehicles. And it's not just the number 1 Audi as well. Number 2 as well, coming up and about to lap the Privateer Audi. Wallace, he's on his way in for fuel. Frank Bieler at the controls of the number 2. And easy enough, isn't it? Look at this. Goodness me, you can really see the difference between the 2001 cars and last year's model. And that direct injection straight into the cylinder head, extra power, and indeed fuel economy to boot. Fantastic stuff. Goodness me, look, the gap already opening up. A lap down then. The number 4 car. Panos will be coming into sight any moment now. There he is. Oh, that's a Corvette. A Viper, I beg your pardon. Cadillac number 7 of Tinso. Cadillac's stated ambition. They want to win Le Mans for 24 hours, and they've got an awful lot of work to do. Christophe Tinso here, involved in over 1,000 hours of preparation just in the early part of this year. and that before the series began, and they must know what they're up against if they're going to win Le Mans. They have Audis out in front of them, and the way the Audi teams have worked themselves into their position at the head of the field, it really is a shining example to everybody. This is the era of Audi. Cadillac hoping that it'll be their turn next, I'm sure. Beautiful looking car nonetheless, the Cadillac, and so nice in this form of racing to see all the different body styles, and a shame that this year's Panos didn't quite work. Very, very radical looking machine. So much looked to be going right early on, and the Cadillac far more sober in its design, but beautiful nonetheless. Race leader, number 1, Dindo Capello. Likes it up front, on board with him, very relaxed. Just nudging those rumble strips, not taking too much out of them though. Using all the road, but not too much of it beyond that. Well, it really is constant, isn't it? Oh, dear, dear, dear. And it's the Cadillac, the number 7, Tinso, and he's backed into the wall there, and that looks like race-ending stuff. Oh, sad to see. The Atlanta-based North Star team. First race in the series for them, and a sad end for their number 7 car. Borkler, the Saline, being challenged by fellows in the 3 Corvette. Real battle for GTS and a spin for Milka Duno in the Dick Barber racing car. He's got it going again. He'll be rejoining us, but with very, very dirty tyres. It'll take him a while to get back up to speed. And that battle again in the GTS, the number 26 and the number 3 in the vet going down the inside. He looks like he's got him. Well, both on a lighter fuel load here, but it seems to be the Corvette that's working the better, much tighter machine. Look at this, fantastic. Caught him, just diving inside, and he's got the line out of this turn. Great stuff. Well, the Saline has been looking a little bit tired over the last couple of laps, getting a bit loose. The vet much tighter into the turns, and there the results of his best effort, and as you can see already starting to put a little bit of distance, maybe 3 car lengths. And we've got another spinner. It's the 69th Porsche of Jeff Pabst, after a touch apparently with Tony Burgess. And there is debris on the track, and that will be a full course yellow. Well, they could well be calling them in now. Yes, out comes the flags, and indeed everybody getting ready to do their bit. On board with Capello, coming into the pits, and he's signalling to Christensen to go in ahead of him, presumably. Oh dear, nearly hit that divider there, dividing the track from the pit lane. Only just made it, and he's fidgeting away with his radio communications there, basically waving him through so that he got into his pit box ahead of him, so he didn't have to drive round him. But change of drivers here. The drivers can do their own thing. Nobody else allowed to touch the car until the fuel man is off and has done his stuff. Fuel man gone, fuel on board, tyres being changed, and Capello, not a happy boy. Look at this. Well, goodness only knows what was going on there. The car on its own air jacks, as you can see, nice and handy. Quick check, down and underway. Christensen is there. Capello handing to Christensen. And it was Bieler, I beg your pardon, as he was signalling to come in, and we'll find out all about that right now. Ronaldo Capello handing over to Tom Christensen. Bieler, he's in. Fellows has changed with Johnny O'Connell. Let's catch up with Ronaldo Capello and see exactly what was going on there as he was waving in Frank Bieler.
I had a very bad lap, 3 laps to the end of my stint because of traffic. I lost all my gap. And then I tried to push again, and I was able to do, but it was yellow flag and pace car. I slowed down because the pace car had to catch me. and then they opened the pit lane just when the pace car passed, and I didn't know if for me was open or not. I was waiting for some information from the pit. The information came but a little bit too late, and Frankie went in earlier than me because he was behind and they had more time to talk with this box, but okay.
A bit of confusion about whether the pits were ready for him then. The safety car is still out there, so no real harm done as the race closes up behind the pace car. Well, we've seen the pace of the Audis, so it's only his teammate Capello I should say, needs to worry about. Let's talk to Frank Bieler.
All through the distance, the tires felt good, so I was always going quite hard, and I was pushing to keep the gap as small as possible, or maybe even overtaking him. And then at the end, I think Dindo did a little mistake. He stayed on the circuit, and I had to go in. And just 5 meters before the wall or something, I decided I was in the pit lane, he was out on the circuit. Then I go. It was a little problem, or a little mistake of him.
So there you have it, clear as mud. Green flag, we've restarted, and the track cleared of debris, and it's Audi's 1 and 2, but not those numbers that we heard before. It's the number 2 Audi leading now, ahead of the number 1. The Panos is there. They've all made a stop in the 900s. The GTS, it's Corvettes now 1 and 2, with the Saleen in 3rd place, and BMWs 1, 2 and 3 in the GT class. And on board with Nicholas Johansson, of the PTG BMW team, and number 1 Christensen. And look at this, just trying to get back as best he can towards the number 2 car, and he'll be pushing as hard as he dare. Yes, number 1, but in fact in 2nd place at the moment. Oh, and he's got, and it looked like he may have got a little bit of a nudge from the Cadillac, managing to hold on, and he's going to get past again as well. The number 8 Cadillac going past him, and that looked to be a very, very nasty moment indeed. And look at this battle at the moment. The Panos, David Brabham, along with Andy Wallace. A relentless battle, these two double stinting. This again for 3rd and 4th place. Look at this, having a look down the inside. No, not close enough this time. Well, gravel and dust will have been picked up by the number 1 Audi, but it seems to be relatively unfazed. This man certainly is out in the lead in the number 2 car. Audi's still in the driving seat. And Team Cadillac, the number 8 car, and Jelly Taylor machine, that's out, and it's yellow flags once again. And it seems that the car has actually lost a wheel, a front wheel, so we're under full course yellow once more. Wayne Taylor, he's okay. And a pit stop for Jörg Müller, the number 42, still very close in the GT race. Number 43, Frederick Ekblom, he's also staying on board. He's already out. And Müller will be wanting to get back into the fray as quickly as possible. And there, the missing wheel of the Cadillac being collected and safely steered back in the pit box of the champion Audi team. Johnny Herbert preparing to get in the number 38 car, changing with Andy Wallace. And the Panos pit stop completed. They on the way, and the 38 car will want to be as swift as possible, otherwise they're going to end up being a lap down on that Panos. So Wallace swapping with Herbert. Once again, everyone, safety's sake, staying away until the fuel's on board. Well, one of the highlights of the opening hour of this race was the battle between Brabham and Wallace, and now we're resuming with Jan Magnussen in the Panos and Johnny Herbert in the privateer number 38 Audi. He exiting the pits. Herbert's ALMS debut here, and the number 50 on track behind the pace car, so no real changes for the moment. David Brabham.
I tell you, we had a fantastic race. I mean, you know, unfortunately we haven't been able to race much this year, but we're certainly making up for it this weekend. And you know, Andy's a great driver, tough but fair, and we sliced through the traffic. It was fantastic racing.
Well, Johnny Herbert, fresh from Formula One, his racecraft is absolutely assured, and he's got the Panos in his sights here. He just has to get through traffic fairly and squarely, and does it neatly enough. Look at that. Well, can he catch Magnussen in the number 50 Panos and make it an Audi 1, 2, 3? No formation finish, as he's a few laps down on the factory cars, but it could be an all Audi podium. Or will Jan Magnussen spoil the party? That's how we're set for now. We'll be back at Sears Point with the remainder of this race after this short break. Do stay with us. Welcome back to Sears Point. Race leader number 2 Audi, Emanuele Pirro, and the Audi number 1 in close attendance, Tom Christensen. Fresh from his country excursions, seems to be none the worse for that. Thank goodness for him. And look at this battle amongst the GT class with the BMWs. Hans Stuck is in there, as is Fredrik Ekblom. And we're looking at the number 42 and number 10. All 4 of those locked together in a real scrap in GT. The Porsches are out of it and not happy about it at all. They have been this season saying that the BMWs, really, it's not a proper GT car because you can't buy the vehicles. Well, BMW arguing with that, saying it'll shortly be available to absolutely everyone, and the organisers seem to agree with them. Pirro then, leading the number 1, Christensen. Audi's 1 and 2, but numbers 2 and 1 leading this race at Sears Point. Well, a totally dominant performance, and they've just got to hope the boys back in the pit lane that these two don't start racing each other for real. Last thing you want is for them to damage their vehicles, and we have seen a few good cars and good drivers come unstuck here, and indeed the Cadillac number 8 here on the trailer and going home. Ekblom in the 43 BMW ahead of Jörg Muller, number 42. Hans Stuck is in the 6 car behind, and then the number 4 of a Corvette challenging them. He'll be looking to move through in just a moment. The flag's waving to say the faster car's coming down on you. Jörg Muller going through. A real ding-dong that is, and this is one as well. Just look how Herbert has closed down on Magnussen. Both former Formula One Stewart men. They know each other very well indeed. Look at this. Right over the rumble strip there, Herbert trying to get the inside line. Door slammed shut. Meanwhile, out in front, Pirro defending from Tom Christensen. Audi's 2 and 1. Fabulous stuff. They're going to have a race all on their own here in this class. Top of the class, of course. Well, it's a mark of just how much progress they've made. They were totally dominant last season, and they've come back with a different car, and it just shows you what application can do. The car is even more superior than last year's model, as we've seen when they were racing in Europe against the Gulf Audi. And Magnussen And here, of course, against the Wallace Herbert machine, the Champion Racing number 38 car, just left in the distance. Totally supreme, these vehicles. Picking their way beautifully through the traffic then. Tight and twisty here at Sears Point. Plenty of elevation as well, up and down, roundabout. Some bottlenecks do form in traffic, but the Audis stuck absolutely together. BMW suspending their battle just for a moment while the faster vehicles go through. They'll resume. The red Viper soon dispatched by the silver machines. And Herbert is through. He's passed the Panos. He's in third place. It's Audi's 1, 2 and 3 for the time being. Well, a shame we didn't see it. We were busy with the leaders there. But the 38 car is in third place. The number 50 Panos is being left behind. And a smoking Cadillac. This is the number 7 car. This is the one we saw backed into the wall earlier on. They did a great repair job on there. Of course, this bodywork is nice and light, and if you can just knock the axle into shape, you're okay. But it does seem to be having trouble. Smoking heavily there, as you can see. Tough weekend at Sears Point for the Cadillac boys. And the number 2 Piro's car is into the pits. Team orders perhaps. Well, the battle certainly diffused. These are expensive vehicles, and they don't want to ruin the team challenge just for drivers' own personal point making. Well, who knows what the team strategy is, but for the time being, the number 1 Audi is back in position number 1. The number 2 here, Piro, being refueled. Is he going to take any tyres? Not at all. Taking fuel, and off he goes. Probably some adrenaline and not a little bit of anger, I wouldn't have thought. He comes out with his limiter on, and there is the new leader, number 1, Tom Christensen, on track, putting in a couple of very fast laps he will be. And Herbert in third place. As you can see, the gap between himself and the Panos has closed once again. Look at the Saleen in the GTS class. Frank Conrad on board. And indeed in second place behind the Corvette, which is leading at the moment. Splitting both Corvettes, so a little battle going on in the GTS as well. Corvette number 3 car is leading the class ahead of the Saleen, and the number 4 Corvette is just behind this machine. Lovely looking car, as we've said, and should you have got the cash together, you can actually drive one of these to the supermarket, should you care. Well, not one of these, however. In comes Christensen. Will it be a splash and dash? And you can see where he got clipped, or this vehicle got clipped earlier on, which caused the spin. It was indeed a bit of contact, so not just a driver mistake. And a couple of front tyres have been changed as well. May well have got themselves a little bit ragged when the vehicle went off. So number 2, heavy with fuel, and will not keep the lead. No tyres earlier for Manuel Piro. Audis then still filling the top 2 spaces, and indeed the top 3. GTS leader Johnny O'Connell. And the Corvette's run of success started early this year, and they've been having a great season. Racing in other series as well, and of course we saw them at Le Mans. Great ambition. on board with number 1 race leader after the pit stop, Tom Christensen. Took the lead when the number 2 Audi pitted, and you can see he's hardly likely to relinquish it. Number 57, the only 675 car, so leading his own class. Beautiful looking car, the Dick Barber racing machine. And Herbert is in the pits, and he's having trouble. Well, the car is staggering. It's not quite stalled. It keeps going, stopping. Come on, get it sorted, Johnny. Well, this is causing all sorts of problems. 2 laps behind the leader. Second ahead of the number 50 Panos going in there, but he's choking it. We'd seen it before with the Audis, no such trouble this time. Perhaps that fuel injection system could have ironed that out. Race leader number 1 Tom Christensen going past the PTG BMW number 6, which was looking a bit twitchy, and heading for victory. It's a familiar sight, these cars being greeted home, waved home indeed, by the checkered flag. And it's going to happen once again. Time is out. You get 1 full lap once the clock has stopped. And Audis 1 and 2 it will be. The fist clenched, and it's there. The checkered flag is waved above the number 1 Audi once again. Absolutely superb stuff. Audis 1 and 2. It's going to be the Panos in 3rd place. And a burst of smoke from the back. I think that was just a blap on the accelerator. Oh, and a spin in the dying last corner here. The number 43 car and the number 6 in the BMW is just coming together there. They've managed to hold it, and there'll be no change in the order. Thank goodness for them. And it's BM's 1, 2 and 3 with the 42 car finishing in 3rd place. Well, a handsome race for BMW. An equally handsome one, of course, for Audi. Maybe it's just that we're used to seeing it. Audi's number 1 in victory lane, their 11th consecutive ALMS win, a streak that started here in July of last year, and who knows where it will end. Behind, Panos grabbed the 3rd ahead of the champion car, which was 4th. In GTS, the Corvettes headed saline over the line, and of course you saw the GT results. Just how dominant can BMW get? Now the points look much the same as before, only more so. 6 rounds still to go, and it's early days, but the Audis are king of the hill in the prototype class. Capello and Christensen from their teammates, while Corvettes men Fellows and O'Connell increase their lead in GTS, and Sasha Masson hangs on to the GT lead, but it's all getting terribly close.